to India and Ireland, round Africa and back again. We don't really need to know just where we'll go. Maybe Canada, then to Brazil, then through the Alpine foothills. All I really want to know is, can we go? Oh baby, can we go? Round and around the globe.
Welcome to Take Me With You, episode 105. I'm Ryan,
And I'm Cheryl. We are two well-traveled people who want to go everywhere.
but that's not going to happen. So instead, we'll travel vicariously by inviting a guest to share their unique travel stories with us.
Today, it's just us because we are celebrating our 2-year anniversary.
Yay! Happy anniversary, Cheryl!
Happy anniversary, Ryan. So fun. We made it to 2 years. It feels a little weird because just 5 episodes ago, we were celebrating our 100th anniversary. And truth be
100th
told,
episode.
oh, our 100th episode. And that episode came out today, the day that we're recording this. So it feels like we just celebrated something and
Yeah,
here we, I don't know, 2-year anniversary, whatever. But it's very cool. We've been doing this for 2 years.
it is cool.
Yes, I'm happy about it. So it is our cotton anniversary. And you just found out that that was a thing.
I'm rolling my eyes. You all can't see me because this is a podcast, but I am seriously rolling my eyes right now. I think that is so ridiculous that they all have a thing.
Well, I think at 11 it stops being every year. I think it's like 1 to 10, and then it goes to like
Is that because
15,
they don't
20.
expect people to make it that far?
Maybe it's just more like people
You realize it's
stop
dumb
like
by then?
freaking out about their anniversary. I don't know. But then there's like diamond and I don't know.
Yeah,
pearl
and those
and
ones
gold
sort of
and-
make sense because those are major milestones. I don't know. I guess as a non-married person, maybe I just don't get it, and I will submit to that. I still think it's dumb that it's because what did you say? That one anniversary is paper,
Yeah.
and then the two
Maybe
anniversaries
it's like
cotton. Like that's
the-
ridiculous.
Well, it's like the substance gets more valuable and cool as the years progress, as
Sure.
your marriage does, maybe.
Okay.
So,
whatever.
like, we'll hit our diamond anniversary for this podcast someday.
Isn't Diamond 50
Yeah,
or is that 25? I guess I don't remember which one's
I
which.
think it's 50. And
But
now
either
I'm
way.
picturing, like, would they have to like discover new countries or something for us to still be talking about? I mean, we'll always be able to talk about travel, but like,
Yep. I just, if you add 50 years to our current age, I'm enjoying the podcast. I kind of don't think I'll still be podcasting at that point.
I'm also just picturing like what like an old form of technology podcasting will be.
Oh, yeah.
In that
In 50
time,
years?
Well, I guess from now it'd be 48 years, but still it's like,
True.
you're like, oh man, grandma's still obsessed with those podcasts. Would be like, get rid of your record player and get some.
But then
get an
again,
iPod, you know?
vinyl, there's a group of people who love vinyl.
That's true. We're so retro with our podcast, so.
Except it can't be retro if it's also right now. It has to have been a thing from the past. So
I mean, we're not on TikTok, so we're kind of retro.
That's true. That's true. We are not on TikTok for so many reasons.
My 6-year-old stepson just mentioned a TikTok something, and I was like, "Excuse me, what? Why do you know those words?" And like, it was just like,
yeah. Have you ever
I
actually
feel
been
old.
on it or seen it, Cheryl?
I've seen people post videos on Facebook that they took on TikTok,
Yeah.
like the dances
Yeah.
and stuff. And the first time I saw someone doing a dance, I thought like, "Oh, are they doing like Just Dance or one of those like video game dance things?"
Nope.
And then they filmed it of themselves, and then I learned that it's a thing within the app.
Yep.
And that sounds fun, but
I've
many
used
apps.
TikTok a little bit just because I was curious. It's basically just one major time suck. That's all it is. Because they're these short little videos and you can follow certain people and stuff, but they recommend videos to you and you just flick your way through them. Nope, I'm bored of that one. Nope, I'm bored of that
oh
one.
gosh.
And I mean, I think for the most part, it's harmless. I don't know that it's doing, nefarious well, I don't know. There apparently maybe because of China, somehow it is or something. But regardless of that, like, I think it's just meant to be fun, but it's also meant to keep you on social media and to keep you on TikTok for a really long time. And it's super easy to do that.
I already have too many platforms that do that. Like Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook that I've like now turned off notifications from because I need less of it. But really my major time suck is listening to podcasts. That's where it's like there are so many podcasts I listen to. It could just go on forever.
But at least for the most part, those you're gaining knowledge or information or something very often, I think. I mean, they're also entertaining. But
yeah. And my sisters and I send each other memes about like, oh, I made a new friend. And they're like, real friend or podcast? Podcast. Because I definitely feel like I'm friends with some podcast hosts that I've never met before. So
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, Cheryl, I have a question for you.
Okay.
And it's about our podcast.
Okay.
And I asked you this question a year ago about our podcast.
Okay.
And I think this probably needs to be a yearly question that we ask for as long as we do this podcast.
Okay.
Cheryl, you like new things.
Sure
you
do.
like changing things up. As a matter of fact, we were just talking about how you change things up in your room that you're podcasting in, just like this week. And so you like to change things up. You like new, you like trying different things. You get excited when things are different. We've been doing the same podcast for 2 years. Are you bored with our podcast?
Nope. I'm not. And I think my reason's the same as last year, that there's so much variety within it that I'm not bored with it, because we're talking to a new person every week and a new story. And I like getting to know people. And so it's whether it's a friend of mine or someone I've never met before, I'm getting to know them more. And I still really enjoy editing it. Most of the time, it doesn't feel like a chore to edit it. It's only if I forget and then I have to do it on Sunday night that I'm like cursing our podcast. But most of the time, it's really fun for me to edit it too. And apparently,
how often do you curse our podcast?
Not very often. I'm usually ahead of schedule, so it's good. But there's still more I'd love to learn about technology. I mean, even like when we started setting this up, I can't figure out why my microphone isn't working with the normal program I use. But so yeah, I think there's still learning to be done. Yeah, no, I still think it's so interesting. I mean, at the same time, I'm also like trying to convince you to start a second podcast with me.
Oh, no. You have convinced me.
Yes, I've convinced you. Yes.
Well, you should have known that.
I mean, yeah, but like we should do this. I don't know. Should we talk about it?
I don't think so. I don't think we should tell anyone exactly what it is yet. But now they know that we have another podcast brewing in the background.
Yeah. I'm so excited about it.
You just have to gather up enough of your side of it first.
I have it. I'm so ready.
So we have to have enough on your side, and then we'll start recording when we have free time. And then once we've got enough, we'll start releasing them. And that podcast will have a very different feel than this one. It'll be a very different style.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be cool.
Yeah, so I think that's me, maybe. I'm not bored of this podcast. However, I'm trying to,
you do still want new things.
Oh, yeah. I always want new and variety. But I think that so sometimes that means I move on to the next thing. And sometimes that means I stick with the current thing and want to mix it up and have variety within that. So, yep. There's my answer.
Awesome. That's great. Alrighty. So last year we went through some stats about our podcast. Do you remember this?
Oh yeah, it was so exciting. I love math and stats and numbers and all that. It's thrilling.
I'm glaring at you, Cheryl. Not those kinds of, you didn't have to calculate statistics.
Okay, good.
We just went over certain things about our podcast.
Yeah, it was like a performance review, So.
But, shut up. So I'm going to ask you, you're going to make some guesses, and some of these will be numbers.
Okay.
About things related to our podcast. So the first question is how since we started our podcast, how many downloads do you think our podcast has had? And that means by individual episodes. Each episode that someone would have downloaded counts as one download.
I would hope it would be more than 105.
It is more than 105.
2,000.
The actual answer is 5,824 downloads.
Cool. That's a big number.
Right? Now, that's as of the date that we are recording this, which is September 28th. So the end of September. So by the time this actually comes out, hopefully we'll have more than that. We might, I don't know that we'd quite be to 6,000 yet. But so yeah, in 2 years, like 5,800 downloads. That's, nice. I feel good about that number.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think is the most used app to play our podcast?
Oh. Is it Apple Podcasts?
It is Apple Podcasts.
Okay.
Now,
okay, that makes sense to me because you and I are Android users.
Yep.
I've been both. I've had an
Correct.
iPhone and I've had an Android. When I had an iPhone, I used the podcast app until they updated it a couple of years ago. And then I said, I will never use this again. And then started using the third-party ones. But the thing is, on iPhone, most people use the podcast, their app.
Yep.
And on Android, people use a whole slew of apps. There is not a prominent one. So that totally makes sense to me.
Yep. Okay. In the spirit of our 100th episode, I'm going to do this is only going to be a top 5 though.
Okay.
What are our top 5 most listened to, aka downloaded episodes?
Oh gosh. I'm going to guess ones with guests. Do we have any without guests?
There's one of them without a guest. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to guess our first episode or our little promo is going to be one of those.
Mm-hmm. The first episode, Switzerland, episode 1,
wow.
is number 3 with 110 downloads.
Okay. I'm going to guess Doug Walsh. Did he make it on there?
Nope.
Our author buddy? Okay.
Nope.
Who else? I'm trying to rank the popularity of our guests. Although it might be the popularity of the locations because we list the guest name and the location.
Yep.
Is I don't even know. Alex Bell?
Nope.
Okay.
I'll give you a hint. Do you want a hint?
Okay, yeah, I want a hint. Yes.
2 of the 5 are in Spain.
Yay, they are!
I knew you'd like that.
Oh, that's so cool. Which Spain? Camino de Santiago.
Nope.
Okay. My Spain episode.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Living in Madrid.
Yes.
Ooh.
That one is number 4.
Okay.
Our episode 17, Living in Madrid with Sarah Williams.
Okay. I want you to tell me the other ones.
Okay. So number 5 is episode 46, Israel and Jordan with Tommy Oliver.
Oh, cool.
Number 2 is Living in Malaga with Michaela McGee, episode 3.
Michaela.
And our top downloaded episode is episode 18, Japan with Kate Scone.
Oh, hey, that's my sister.
That is your sister.
Congrats, Katie.
Okay. So here's another sort of statistic, sort of not. How many different podcast platforms is our podcast available on?
15.
Okay. Can you name any of them?
Podcatcher, Stitcher, Spotify.
Wait, hold on. Was that Pod Stitcher or was that Stitcher?
Oh, that's right. Stitcher is one of them. I just put Pod because Pod is in front of like half of them.
Right.
Spotify, Google Play, I think does them. Apple Podcasts. Is Podbean one of them? Maybe. What's the one I use? I use Pocket Casts. That's my catcher of choice. Those are my lists.
Okay. So there are 10 specific ones that we are listed in.
Okay.
The big three are Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. That's the Google Play one.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Our most recent addition is Amazon. Just did Amazon Music with Audible is listing podcasts. We are now there.
Oh.
Which you might not even have known because I just did that in the background and didn't probably tell you.
Cool.
We are on Stitcher.
Okay.
We are on iHeartRadio.
Oh, yeah.
We are on Podcast Addict.
Okay.
Podchaser. Deezer.
That one's fake.
And Listen Notes.
Gotcha.
In addition to those 10, once you're listed in Apple Podcasts, we automatically show up in a few other apps. Overcast, Pocket Cast, Castro, and Castbox. So if you include those, it would be 15, which would be the number that you guessed.
Whoa! I'm so proud of myself right now.
I think those are all the stats I have. I mean, I could make up more stats, but those are the big ones, I think.
Here, I'll make up a stat. 80% of statistics are made up on the spot.
You could make that up.
So, Ryan.
Yes, Cheryl.
Something I think that would be fun is if we made some predictions for the following year.
Okay.
So, predictions about this podcast and about travel. Because we talked about making predictions at our 1-year anniversary and we didn't. And I really wish we did because then we could have laughed
Could be
at
so
ourselves.
wrong.
Yeah, but also what if we predicted a pandemic? That would have been crazy. Let's start with just overall travel. What do you think is happening in the next year with travel?
Oof, that's a good question. What's going to happen in the next year with travel?
Like, your February trip?
Yep.
Is that happening? Are you going to Disneyland within the next year? As in, like, as anyone? Or
Sure.
like any other things?
I think that there will be more travel a year from now than there is now, but I do not think that the travel will be back to normal travel yet.
Okay.
I do think I will probably be going to California in February.
Okay.
I kind of don't think I'll be going to Disneyland. Like, just being real. Like, I think whether or not that's because I think that's what's actually going to happen, that's where I'm setting my expectations so that, and you've talked about this quite a bit, right? I don't want to set my sights too high and then be super bummed if it doesn't work out. Because as of right now, like I said, the end of September, Disneyland is still not open. It is the only Disney park in the world that has not reopened.
Wow.
All of the other Disney parks have reopened. Hong Kong opened, closed again, and then reopened. And Disneyland is still closed.
Yeah.
And so I know that they're working both Disneyland and then like Orlando and Knott's Berry Farm, and a bunch of them are trying to petition the government to let them open. Whether or not that's the right choice, I honestly don't know. I don't feel like I'm qualified to know those things necessarily. But I know based on what Disney's done in Florida that it's in their best interest to take their guest safety and health really seriously because they can stay open if they keep people from getting sick at Disneyland or Disney World or wherever, right? So it's in their interest not to cut corners. And I don't feel like Disney as a company, their theme parks at least, they don't generally cut corners. That's not generally what they do. Right? Like that's not kind of their business model. So I think of any place that big to open, I would feel, with rightly or wrongly, I think I would feel decently safe. So if Disneyland was open in February, and if we were able to go, because that's a whole nother issue, because if they do, they'll probably be on a reservation system,
Yeah.
at limited capacity, like all those pieces. I would totally be willing to go. As a matter of fact, I feel like this is the perfect time for me to go when there are way less people. Like I'm totally fine with the park being at like 20% capacity or something. Like, yes, that's when I would want to go, with way less people. And that would be true even without a pandemic. I'd prefer that. So I don't know. So I think that will be seeing travel in 2021. I think more people will be flying, because I think the airlines are just, they're cutting prices. They're doing things that they can to try and get that to happen. But I also think that people's patience with not doing things continues to wane.
Yeah.
And so whether, again, rightly or wrongly, I'm not making a judgment whether that's correct or not correct, but I think it is happening regardless. And so people are willing to do more things than they were even 2 months ago. Yep. And I think because masks has become much more of a norm, that has also facilitated more of that than there was when we first started. So when we first started everything, initially we were told not to wear masks because we needed to leave them for first responders and all of that sort of thing. And so then things have kind of shifted as we've learned more about the virus and as more masks have been made available. And now that's kind of the go-to is wear a mask. And so I think we definitely won't be out of it. And even if, let's say, there's a vaccine by December, which I don't think there will be, but even if there was, and vaccines are widely available a year from now, I still don't think we'll be back to normal. That's my prediction.
When do you think we can travel internationally?
Oof. To be honest, I think some of it will depend on what happens in the November election.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the two different presidential candidates are going to approach COVID-19 in very different ways. And depending on the way that goes, I think will depend on the way that a lot of the rest of the world will view us.
Yeah.
And our safety. Mm-hmm. So I think, and I cannot make a prediction for the election because I definitely did not predict the last outcome. And I mean, a lot of people were surprised by it. So I don't feel like I've got any idea what's going to happen this year.
Dang it. I was going to ask you that next. And Ryan, just real quick, who's going to be president next? Just, spitball.
I think that Luke Skywalker will be the next president.
Interesting choice.
I mean,
it's going to be a little difficult.
Why not have a Jedi as a president?
He is fictional and a historical character.
Correct. But he has the Force.
Location. Who is also not born in this country.
Yep. But Force Ghost. Okay. So there you go. He wins.
Oh, man.
Okay. How about you? What are your travel predictions for next year?
I don't okay. When I think about for me, I don't see myself flying for a while because I just don't know if I see myself planning a trip somewhere where I need to fly until I feel more confident that those plans can happen.
Yeah.
I think with your trip, it felt a little different. And also you got the tickets when it was like, oh yeah, February, everything will be fine by February. But also, you were like, you can go see family and it's refundable and all those things. I think that until we're out of the woods, I'm probably going to be planning road trips, and just taking those and enjoying it. And then eventually when we can fly internationally, we'll get my husband a passport and finally get to take our original honeymoon plan, which
although
will be great.
Now might be a great time to go ahead and do that passport thing because I'm sure there's not a long line.
It'll just be funny. They're like, you can't use this right now, right? Like you can still pay us money to get a passport, but yeah. So I think it's just for me, I'm just feeling really good about getting excited about the road trips I can take and things like that. And I'm not even I'm not even thinking about flying at this point.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about, okay, next summer road trip, what's it going to be? Which, I mean, with a kiddo might be the case anyway.
Yeah.
But, and then eventually we're going to want to take him, you know, flying somewhere. But by that point, I'm going to want to know this is going to be fine.
Yeah.
You know, and so, and I don't know. I think I've heard so much about the safety of air travel. I'm not too worried about it. I think it's more like I don't want to be disappointed if I realize I can't take the trip, or that the place I spent the money to fly to, nothing's open there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's where, like, I'm not even dreaming about those things at this point.
Right.
And so I don't see myself doing any flying until, I mean, 2022 maybe. I don't think next year at all. That's my guess.
I mean, the only reason I'm flying is because I'm going to see my sister.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
My sister's going to be there whether everything's open or not.
Yeah.
You know, and so I can see family, and even if you know there's nothing else to do, and it's fully like it's fully refundable.
Yeah.
I can exchange it. So even if we're not going,
yeah,
I can move it to another time. So, and I wonder, sorry, I'm usurping your prediction here.
That's okay.
But I've thought about this before, because the airlines just keep extending this like refundable policy, like no cancellation fees.
Yeah.
I wonder if that will linger for many years, because will that become a new normal? And I know the airlines don't want it to become a new normal, but they're going to have to, I think, to get their businesses to keep themselves in business. They're going to have to do things that customers want.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. You know, a lot of airlines are not selling the middle seat.
Yeah. And like Alaska, they marketed it so nicely, and they were like, it's a BOGO, and like, you know, buy one and get the whole row, or, you know, different things like that. And so it reminds me of the housing market, where like sometimes it's the buyers and sometimes it's the sellers market. It feels like that with airlines right now, that like at this moment, airlines need to convince people to buy tickets, as opposed to like, we all want to fly and we all want to buy these tickets, and then it's just a matter of whose company are we going with.
Right.
You know, it's less of a hot commodity right now. And so it's a different mindset. Yeah. Okay. So that's a good question with this predictions thing. What pieces of travel that have changed because of COVID will remain in place like this? So like, you're thinking, I like your guess of airlines might have to do full refundable tickets for a long time post COVID. What if their refund policies always are, you know, more generous because of this time period where we're all getting used to your Airbnb or your plane ticket, your hotel or whatever, just being like, of course it's fully refundable. Yeah. What other aspects of travel that have changed because of COVID do you think will stay?
I think we will continue to see more people do more smaller trips, like you were describing with road trips and things like that. I think we'll see an increase in domestic travel, because and I think we talked about this over the summer when you were talking and we were planning on your road trip. Yeah, that growing up, those were the only types of trips we did, at least in my family. And I think some of it was because of budget. We didn't have a lot of money, and we were usually just traveling to go see family. Right. So we would do a 2-day road trip down to San Jose, California, where my grandparents lived, or Sacramento, where my other set of grandparents lived, you know, and that was vacation. And so it was a road trip because it was way too expensive to fly, and you could drive, and you have
accommodations. If
right.
you stay with them.
Yep. And that's just what we did. Those were our vacations. And so the idea of going on vacation as a thing that you do to go somewhere was a really foreign idea to me for a long time, because that's just not what we did growing up. And not that you can't do a road trip to a location, because you definitely can. But I think that a different mindset around travel, that you can still travel and see really cool things and have really cool experiences without necessarily breaking the bank or, taking a 10-hour plane flight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about you?
I think that cleaning standards will
Yep.
stay. I don't know, probably not as severely like handing someone your credit card in a bucket for them to take out of or just these certain things where it's like, I don't know how this is helping germs not spread. But I think that, assuring customers that this space has really been clean and sanitized and we took the time to do it, that would be hard for that to go away after there's a new standard. I mean, even I remember when COVID first started and places were trying to assure their customers that they're cleaning more thoroughly. There was a piece of me that felt like, why were you not cleaning like that before? Because it's like, I mean, even thinking about staying in a hotel and really trying to not spread germs between your guests, that is a mindset that I could see continuing. And I think people are just going to care more about germs and care more about not getting sick from each other. And even I was talking to a coworker of mine, we're talking about masks, and I know there's different thoughts on masks and blah, blah, blah. But she was sharing, she said, I lived in Japan for 3 years, and in Japan, it would be really rude if you had seasonal allergies or a cold or anything to not wear a mask.
Yeah.
Or, she talked about another country she lived in where masks were also way more used and everything. And just, so I think even that piece of, are there people who, if they know that they're in a high risk area of getting sick, will they just wear a mask by choice, or will airlines always sanitize more? Are there things that will just continue thinking about those germs and not getting sick more just during flu season, or different things like that?
Yeah. So. Which is interesting. I have 2 thoughts about that. My first thought about it was, and I was saying this months and months ago, I think places like Disneyland and sports stadiums and not that sports stadiums are really open right now, but like big venues that are doing temperature checks, I think those will stay. I think those will be a permanent thing. I don't think those will go away, because if you've done all the setup to keep track of those things and you think about it, do you really want someone with a fever there anyway, like anytime? And the answer, I think, is no. And so if you already have the infrastructure to do it, why stop? Like if that's already, the only reason would be if it's inefficient to get people in and out. But if you're already stopping everybody for security, it takes what? An extra 15 seconds to point a little forehead thermometer thing at them and see if they're, if they have a fever over 100. Like, I think that could very likely continue.
That's what I think about cleaning. I think now people have adjusted with their staff to new standards, and that's exciting to me. Maybe spaces that weren't really getting sanitized as much as we thought or just cleaned nicely. And so, I mean, even like I've shared, Daryl worked in hotels, and when we stay in a hotel, there are certain things that he's like, oh, don't touch that. They never clean that. Or like he knows what's been cleaned and what hasn't been cleaned. And there are things where he's like, no. And so, but it's like if hotel staff or various staff at locations are being trained in that, then there's just a new level of expectation that might go beyond that, which would be really cool.
Well, my second thought is that actually scares me, because if it ends up pushing us more to this whole antimicrobial, like we need to kill everything, that could actually push us closer to having another pandemic that's actually worse, because we could potentially be accelerating the rate at which superbugs are created, because that's the problem with like antibacterial soap is actually not a good thing. When it says it kills 99.99% of bacteria, well, that's great. But that 0.01% of the bacteria that's left, that's the ones that aren't killed by it. And those are the ones that are left to reproduce. And so eventually you end up having these bacteria, and this is not for viruses, it's a separate thing, but with bacteria that are left that are now resistant to our antibiotics and we can't treat at all. And that could be devastating. So I do think that, yes, there are some things that haven't been cleaned that probably should have been cleaned or should have been cleaned better. But then the flip side is if we take it too far, it may actually lead to the very problem we're trying to prevent.
Wouldn't that be weird if there's like...
I feel like that's a dystopian movie waiting to be made, right?
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking about like kids growing up now. Like, what if every couple years there's a pandemic, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, that was a pandemic year. That was not a pandemic year."
You laugh, but I think it's completely possible, Cheryl.
Yikes! Wow.
You know, and I don't remember if you and I talked about this in our coronavirus episode or not, but I actually was not surprised by the pandemic. I was just surprised that it was a virus. But I kind of assumed that at some point during our life, we would experience something like this because of superbugs. I just figured it was going to be a bacterium and not, didn't occur to me for it to be a virus. I mean, and I'm not saying I predicted the pandemic and I knew it and like I told you so. It's not one of those. And I had no idea what it was going to like be like, but I guess just to have a disease run through the population that we couldn't treat was not a surprise to me.
Interesting.
So, but this was not supposed to be a COVID podcast.
I know, but I
episode.
mean, we're talking about year 2 of our podcast, and we have a travel podcast, and it's hard to totally separate it from COVID because that has been such a huge marker of, I mean, we will remember 2020 and what happened in the year 2020 for the rest of our lives. Like,
well, I mean, I think people are going to be trying to forget what happened in 2020 for the rest of their lives.
But like, if you're like, oh yeah, what happened in 2017? And be like, was that the year that? But it's like, we will know, like, this is a marker in time.
Oh yeah,
and
it's
so,
a defining year for sure.
Okay, so let's play some games. Let's lighten it up a little bit.
Alrighty, I'm game.
I get it.
Yeah, I'm
so
funny.
Ryan, last year I gave you some travel quizzes.
You
that
did.
were highly intellectual and just like so amazing.
That's the way I would refer to them.
Yeah. So along those lines, I have a BuzzFeed quiz for you.
Okay.
And the topic is, where should you travel next based on your favorite foods?
Oh gosh. And you picked that one for me?
Oh, I know. That's a good point. Actually, now I'm just putting together that travel and food are related. I just thought it was funny.
Why?
I think it's just, I don't know. It felt like a random thing, but I guess also food and travel are really, I don't know what my brain was doing, but I didn't think about that.
All right. Go for it, Cheryl.
Well, it's been a long day. Okay, Ryan, pick something for breakfast. Now, before I give you the options, just pick something for breakfast.
Waffles.
Okay, you can't have waffles. I'll give you 6 options.
Scrambled eggs.
You can do eggs and bacon.
Sure, I'll do eggs and bacon.
Okay, your other options are potato omelet, yogurt parfait,
No.
chilaquiles,
I don't even know what that is.
a bagel, or a croissant.
Yeah, no, eggs and bacon.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Pick a morning drink.
Water? Tea. That'll be
There's
on the list.
tea. Yeah.
I was like, I realized that like what would be on that list, what I would actually pick. I was like,
We'll go with tea. The other choices are matcha, cold brew coffee, latte, mimosa, and agua fresca. We're going to go with tea. All right, Ryan, what's for lunch?
Sandwich.
What kind of sandwich?
It depends on when it is. Today it was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Okay.
But
There
like-
is
like like a turkey sandwich or something. would be
Okay,
fine.
there's a ham sandwich on here.
Sure.
Great.
What
It
other
looks
what other
good.
sandwiches are there?
Well, none of the other sandwiches. I was just curious to see if you could say ham sandwich.
Okay. Fine, ham sandwich. That's fine.
There's also kale salad,
Oh gosh, no.
ceviche,
No.
tacos al pastor,
Mm.
dim sum, or a
No.
cheeseburger.
Yeah, no, the
The ham sandwich.
ham sandwich. Yeah, for lunch, yeah.
These gut
It's
feelings
easier.
are good. Then you're getting stuff that's on here. Choose an afternoon snack.
Popcorn.
No, that
Not
is
an option.
incorrect.
Of course.
No, it's not just not an option. It is incorrect. You got it wrong.
Oh, okay. Afternoon snack. Tortilla chips. Chips
Ooh,
and
there's
salsa.
chips and guac.
Chips. Oh, even better. Chips and guac. Yep.
Cool. Your other options were cheese plate, beef
No.
jerky,
egg.
egg tart, popsicle, or frozen yogurt.
Yeah, no, I picked the right one. I could do froyo, but really that's more of a dessert, not a snack. So
It's time for happy hour. What are you drinking?
probably nothing
More
on the list.
water. All right, you can have a margarita,
Nope.
gin and tonic,
Nope.
soda, rosé, milk tea, or a pina colada.
Soda like soda pop.
Uh-huh.
That would be the choice.
All right. It's time for dinner. What's your order?
Ooh. Are there tacos on this list?
No, there's not tacos for
How
dinner.
about steak?
I'm sorry. There is lamb chops.
It's not the same thing as steak.
There's sushi,
No.
paella,
I've never had it.
pozole,
I don't know what that is.
Peking duck, or pizza.
Oh, pizza.
And pick a dessert. Oh, this is your favorite part.
It is my favorite part. I think I need to hear all these options because I might actually have multiple ones on this that I would want.
Churros,
Okay, those are good.
ice cream,
Just generic ice cream?
just as ice cream.
Hmm.
Chocolate fondue,
Ooh.
a donut, flan, or a berry tart.
Oh. Probably chocolate fondue.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's 2 a.m. Pick a late night bite.
Is popcorn on that list?
Yes.
Oh, great. Let's do popcorn.
Okay. The other options, just for funsies, were quesadilla,
Okay.
lo mein, croquettes, chicken nuggets, or fries.
Yeah, no, popcorn.
Okay. So you got Fiji.
Ooh.
A tiny island floating in the South Pacific, Fiji boasts crystal clear seas, stunning over-water bungalows, and a distinct food scene that is influenced by the nearby Asian cultures and incredible fresh ingredients. If you're a seafood lover, you'll never want to leave this island.
I didn't pick one seafood thing. Why did they give me
Or
seafood?
Asian. You didn't
No.
pick.
Okay. Way to go, BuzzFeed.
That's so funny. Okay, I'm going to take this quiz really quick. I'll tell you
Yes.
my results. Well, I'll just tell you what I'm picking really quick.
Yep.
Chilaquiles for breakfast. Absolutely. We're going to go with a latte as my drink and ceviche as my lunch. And I'm going to want that cheese plate as my afternoon snack. Definitely a margarita as my drink for happy hour. For dinner, paella, although all of those things look so amazing, so it's a really hard choice. And my dessert is going to be churros. I love, oh man, the fried
that was
plus
listed
the
as a
cinnamon
possible
churro.
dessert?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
And then my late night snack, what am I wanting late at night? Croquettes are so good.
I didn't know what that is.
It's like a...
It's the game that the Queen
Fried.
of Hearts played.
It's like a breaded fried something. There's different ingredients like meats and cheeses and stuff on the inside. They're
okay.
so yummy. I got Barcelona.
Hey!
Barcelona is much more than tapas and paella. This cosmopolitan city boasts of amazing international food scene, from Italian-inspired trattorias serving thin crust pizzas and seafood-packed pastas to high-end eateries dishing up Asian-influenced gastronomy. So fun.
For you.
All right. And Ryan, let me know how your trip to Fiji goes.
I mean, I would be interested. If someone wants to pay for me to go to Fiji, I'll go to Fiji, but definitely
we will
the
go
food is not
anywhere
what's getting me
If
to...
we get paid to go there. I would even go
That's
to
probably
Turkmenistan, maybe.
You would even go maybe. It's a glowing review right there.
Okay, I have another quiz for you.
Okay, what's this one?
Which travel destination best fits your personality?
Staying home.
Well, and I don't know much about this quiz other than question number 1 intrigued me, and I haven't
Okay.
even looked at the options yet, but
Oh boy. Okay, here we go.
it's Saturday night and you're at a party. What are you up to? I just want to hear what you have to say before I tell you the options.
Oh gosh, it depends on so many things. I was at a party this last Saturday night. Well,
and what were you up to?
I was with a bunch of science teachers. We were outside so that we were like physically away from each other, like physically distanced. And we talked about Harry Potter and we talked about Star Wars. And obviously we talked about work because that's what we do.
All right. Well, I think that falls into staying up late chatting with friends.
Sure. That could be a thing that I would do.
The other 4 options are falling in love with a stranger.
Nope.
Whipping up food in the kitchen.
Definitely not.
Finding something adventurous to do outside. I mean, you were outside, but
I was not adventurous.
Or taking a cute #OOTD pic for the gram.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yep. Chatting with friends. That's it.
Ryan, what is your biggest pet peeve?
Oh, that's a hard one.
And why is it stupid people?
How did you know? Did I tell you that? I probably have told you this before. As a senior in high school, I had to take speech and debate. And the first speech that we had to do was a pet peeve speech because the teacher was like, we all have pet peeves. These are usually easy things to write about. It was really, really short. And my pet peeve was people.
That's amazing. That's so funny.
So yeah, that's right. People. Yep.
I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to tell you the 5 options and I'm going to tell you which one I think you would answer.
Okay, sure.
When your phone hits 1% and you left the charger at home. Feeling rushed and stressed. Slow walkers. Being stuck somewhere with nothing to do. Or feeling like an outsider. I'm going to say the ones that you are between is feeling rushed and stressed and being stuck somewhere with nothing to do because of the number of times you've talked about your USB stick.
So here's the thing that's interesting. A lot of those are things that I dislike. Only one of those would I actually classify as a pet peeve. And that's slow walkers.
Okay. But which one? I mean, you can tell the spirit of the question, though.
Well, yeah, but then they shouldn't have said pet peeve. Because only one of those is a pet peeve. Because like being rushed and stressed is definitely something that I dislike.
That was the one I thought you were going to answer.
Yeah. And if it was just what do I dislike, then that's definitely it. But if it's what's a pet peeve, like it gets under my skin like right away, that would be slow walkers.
Okay. We'll say slow walkers then.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What's on your bucket list?
Travel more?
Let's see if that is one of
Travel's got to be on there, right?
Here's your options. Experiencing a totally new culture.
Oh, that's kind of like travel.
Leaving the map at home and completely losing yourself somewhere.
No.
Scuba diving. Attending a major fashion week.
That's it. That's the one.
And the last one says 2 words. Beer spa. It's the first one, isn't it?
You got to remind me which one.
Experiencing a totally new culture.
Well, what was the second one?
Leaving the map at home and completely losing
that wasn't it.
yourself
What was the third
somewhere.
one?
Scuba diving.
Oh, see, I would like to. It's probably the first one, though.
Okay.
But like scuba diving, I think would be really cool.
Oh, I didn't know that about you.
Well, so
because
here's the deal.
of science.
Because of science, yes.
Okay.
And because I'm not a good swimmer at all. I'm usually not I don't feel very comfortable in the water. And it's because I can't breathe. And so the idea of being able to breathe while underwater is very appealing to me. Now, I know you have to do a whole bunch of training and it's like, it's not just a thing you just do. It's complicated and you have to get certified and stuff. But that concept is definitely intriguing to me because then I could maybe see things that otherwise I wouldn't be able to see.
Cool. That's funny because I don't know if I would want to scuba dive because of how much it scares me that the only way you can breathe is that system. And I've heard about like failures with it, but I love snorkeling.
That's so funny because to me, that's a little more reliable than the other system of breathing when you're at that depth of water, which is none. So
I just don't know if I want to go to that depth of water. Like I might just like the surface and the snorkeling and
I see.
But I want to see what's down there and have that experience, but also scares me a lot.
Yeah.
So.
But see, and I've tried to snorkel twice and I've never been successful at it because I can't get the seal around my face.
Oh, yeah, that can be tough.
And
Yeah.
so, and I think with the facial hair, it doesn't help.
Oh.
And
okay.
so,
yeah.
like that. So for me, the concept of snorkeling is great because then, yeah, you're not deep underwater.
Uh-huh.
But like, I can't do it for very long before all of a sudden water starts to get in my mask and I freak out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
Ryan, when you were in school, what did you get in trouble for? Trick question, you didn't get in trouble, did you? I'm going to give you the 5 options and we'll see what's the closest.
Sure.
Being too high energy, falling asleep during class after staying up the night before, getting caught texting, jokes on this quiz, there were not cell phones.
Well, there were, but there weren't.
Maybe passing notes would be the equivalent back
Sure,
then.
yeah, that would be it, yeah.
Daydreaming during a lecture or playing hooky.
Those are the only options?
Yeah.
What was the first one again?
Being too high energy.
F, none of the above. I mean, I guess playing hooky.
Did you ever skip?
Sort of. I mean, I did senior skip day, but I don't feel like that counts.
I did not do senior skip day.
Oh,
I
then
went
maybe
to
it does
school
count.
because I wanted to be there because I had really fun classes my last quarter of
that's
high
funny.
school.
So yeah, no, I did senior skip day, and then there was one
Okay.
other day where I was in a theater group when I was in high school, and so we went during one of the days to go do a performance somewhere, and I don't remember where, and we were excused the rest of the day, but we finished early, so we got back before the last period was over, and instead of going back to class, we went to the beach. And then studied biology on the beach. So we still did school there, but
I'm going to say playing hooky just because none of these apply and we have to say something.
I know, I feel like that's the closest one.
In your friend group, you are blank. And there's like different descriptions.
Reliable.
Okay, we'll see how that plays out.
I have no
here.
idea what, like, that's too
The
open-ended.
unique, do your own thing friend.
No.
The trendy, funny friend.
No.
The quiet, loving friend. The
Not that
chill, welcoming friend.
quiet. No.
Or the wild, spontaneous friend. I think you're the unique, do your own thing friend because you have your interests and it doesn't matter if other people have the interest. You're like, no, I like these things and
Okay.
they're what I like.
Sure. I'll sure.
Because if your friends didn't like science, you'd be like, okay, I still like science.
Yep, it's true.
Okay, we'll say that one then.
Sure. I feel like none of those were good options. So
Your greatest strength is?
my attention to detail.
Okay, let's see how that plays out. Independence. I'm confident even when I'm on my own. Insightfulness. I keep up with what's happening in the world and with those I love.
I wouldn't call that insightful.
Optimism. I see
No.
the good in everything.
That's you.
Fearlessness. I'm not
No.
afraid to take risks.
No.
Or approachability. I'm easy to get along with and open to everyone.
What was the first one?
Independence.
It's either independence or approachability.
Do you want me to pick for you?
Do you have a strong feeling one way or the other?
I would. My first reaction was independence.
Okay, let's go with that then. That's fine.
Okay. People go to you when they need.
Tech help.
Okay, we'll see how that works.
Because that's like definitely right now, that's what's happening.
A restaurant recommendation.
No, that's you.
A fun night out.
Also you.
Outfit help.
Also you. Okay, great. We're describing Cheryl so far.
An adventure buddy.
That'd be you.
Comfort and a listening ear.
I think that could also be you. Are those the only options?
Yeah.
I mean, I think of those ones, probably comfort and a listening ear.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You got Hong Kong.
Oh, interesting.
You're independent and full of energy. You enjoy exploring city life and trying new foods. And you want to go somewhere unlike anywhere else you've been before. Hong Kong is the place for you. See it all from above on the breathtaking cable car and don't leave without checking out the bustling markets and food stands.
I don't feel like these quizzes get me.
No. They really don't. I'm going to take it really quick.
Yep.
and
Lightning
then I'll
round,
let you
Cheryl.
know. Okay, lightning round. It's Saturday night. Chatting with friends. No. It's chatting or whipping up food in the kitchen. Food, actually.
You're doing both.
I know, yeah. Feeling like an outsider is bad. Experiencing a totally new culture. I got in trouble for being too high energy.
Yeah.
I am the... Which friend am I? Yeah, I don't know if I'm like the anything friend, though.
Which ones are you? Did you narrow it down to?
4 out of the 5. Chill, welcoming. Wild, spontaneous. Trendy, funny. Unique, do your own thing.
I think I would go with chill and welcoming.
Okay.
Because you're not wild.
I know, and
spontaneous.
I'm not that trendy. I think I'm funny, but that's my greatest strength is my optimism. People go to me when they need apparently all of these.
Uh-huh.
I'll do the Adventure Buddy. I think that's good. I also got Hong Kong.
Oh, great. Let's go.
Okay.
We can go together.
Sounds good. There we go. Well, those are my quizzes for the night.
Great. So we're going to Fiji, Barcelona, and Hong Kong.
Yep. Now we know.
Perfect. Okay. I have something for you now, Cheryl.
Okay.
So I did a little looking online,
Mm-hmm.
and I found a set of questions
Okay.
that are yearly anniversary questions that need to be asked every year of your anniversary. I don't think they were originally written for a podcast. Pretty sure. But I think some of these could still apply.
Awesome.
Okay,
That
are you ready?
sounds great. Yes.
What has been a high point of our podcast this year? I might be editing the questions ever so slightly.
What's been a high point this year? Watching the travel shows.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I agree with that for sure. What has been a low point of our podcast this year?
COVID-19.
Right? And not being able to travel hardly at all.
Yes. Yeah. That's been a bummer. Yeah.
That's for sure. This one is related. What's the biggest challenge you have overcome this year?
Well, for our podcast specifically, I don't know if that's COVID related, because if it's like about making a podcast, I might interpret that differently. A challenge of this podcast. I mean, it's always, are we going to get guests?
Yeah.
And are we going to keep getting guests? And then after that, are we going to get some more guests?
Yep.
Every single week.
Yep. And so far, our guests have been awesome and have recommended other guests.
Yeah.
And
And then we keep thinking of people in our lives who we want to reach out to, too.
Yeah. And if any of you who are listening want to be a guest, you should email us or hit us up on social media or talk to us or do something and say, hey, I want to be a guest. And we'll say, awesome.
Yes. And as always, thank you to Beth. Oh, sorry. I thought we were,
No, we're not there yet.
thought we
I
were
know.
doing the outro.
No, not yet. We're close. Not yet. Okay. This is similar to a question that we've kind of already talked about, but it's a slightly different approach.
Okay.
Where do you want to be a year from today? And I'm going to say with our podcast.
Okay, good. 52 episodes further down than where we are right now
Sure.
would be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see our podcast having traveled to all 7 continents by then.
Ooh. Okay.
And I would like to see us get a lot more countries, travel to a lot more countries than we have as a podcast. Like, let's keep increasing where our podcast is going and the diversity of our guests and their travel experiences. I'd like to see new guests and returning guests. I think it'd be fun to have some people back, but also keep meeting new people. And I want to learn even more about countries in Africa.
Okay.
For example, did you know that people live on Madagascar? Because I did not until KJ came on our podcast. So there are other things, not just countries in Africa. I think because of us having guests on who talk about traveling to different places in the globe, we learn so much more about those places.
Yep.
And I want to keep learning more. Here's a goal for me would be, if someone could list a country and I could describe something about what it looks like or the people there or the infrastructure, or like these different things, I would love to be able to know things about any country on the globe.
Wow. That's ambitious.
But I mean, we're going for 48 more years, so it's going to happen.
That's true. But the question was, where do you want to be a year from now?
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know that you're going to be there
a year from now. I don't know if that's the case, but I think continuing to learn about new places.
Yeah.
How about you?
Gosh, where do I want to be a year from now in our podcast? I would like to have figured out a way to get more listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I dislike our current listeners because they're amazing.
Yeah.
But I would like there to be more, just because I think the stories that our guests tell are so interesting. And I feel like if you aren't listening, then you're missing out on these really cool stories and really cool experiences. That's what you and I have talked about. We love that about the podcast is, even though, yes, we love to travel, we can't go to all these places and do all these things just out of practicality, right?
Yeah.
And yet we can hear all of these cool stories and cool experiences of people and really travel vicariously.
Yeah.
And have, even though it's not the same as going there, it's more than not doing anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to have more people be able to hear those cool stories of our guests.
Yeah. Well, I think a way to describe our podcast would be you have that coworker who takes that trip and then you see some photos on Facebook and then you see them back at work and you're like, hey, how was your trip? And they're like, it was so cool. And then you go about your lives and you kind of wish you got to actually hear about the trip. Yeah. And I feel like this is the platform to actually take the time to hear about the trip. We always wish we could of our friends and loved ones. And so, I think that, I wish we do want to get more people hearing that, because I think it's so cool to hear those stories.
Yeah. I'm just not good at it. I'm not a good marketer. All right. Next question for our anniversary. What is one thing we can do to make our podcast stronger?
Ooh. I think for us as hosts, we are trying to always evaluate how are we doing with interviewing our guests, and what are we doing that didn't go well, and not because of what the guest did, but because of I phrased that question weird, or how can we really draw the stories out of our guests or make them feel comfortable, or just become better podcast hosts all around.
Yeah.
And I think there's always room for improvement.
Oh,
there.
I agree with that. I don't know where we are now compared to where we were when we started, but I know you and I talked a lot when we first started, even just about filler words and, what we would say and ums and uhs. And I'm hopeful that we've gotten better at that. I know I've been trying to get better at that, but those things are hard. And apparently one thing that I do that I didn't even know that you mentioned as the editor is I will pause in the middle of a sentence because I'm thinking, but that doesn't go over quite as well in a podcast.
Yeah, I think about just learning about question asking, which I think is just a good life thing to improve at, because I notice that when we ask a guest 3 questions, they'll answer one of them, and then we never really get to the other 2. And so it's about asking one question at a time, or asking questions that are not leading questions or yes or no questions, but just getting them to share their own story in their own way. And even like I think about Doug Walsh's interview a lot. I think I just enjoyed it so much. But one of the questions we asked him, he said, "Oh yeah, I get that question all the time." And I was thinking, oh, well, then it wasn't a good question.
Yeah.
Because if he gets it all the time, I mean, I guess we haven't heard the answer, but like, let's talk about more interesting things than, like it's almost like, I mean, here's a good application of this is no matter what life stage you're in, there's the question you get all the time.
Right.
So like for me, I'm a newlywed. So I get, so how's married life all the time, or like when you're a senior in high school, it's like, well, what college are you going to? I mean, there's always something. And so I think it's just about like, even when we interact with each other as humans, are we asking each other questions that they don't get all the time? Because then you're just going to get a canned answer, and that's not really an interesting question then. So that's a big one.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, so these last two I think are going to be interesting because they are, remember, these are relationship anniversary questions, right? So Cheryl, what can I be doing more of?
Oh, this is getting real here. Gosh, because here's the thing is you are an Enneagram 1.
Indeed.
And even before I thought about that aspect of your personality, one of the big reasons I wanted to have a podcast with you is because you are a very reliable person and you do what you say you're going to do. And so I've never had to worry about like, well, Ryan said he was going to regularly do this aspect of our podcast, but he's just not. It's like, no, like if you say you're going to do this podcast with me, you're all in. And so you and I both honor our recording dates, and I think you are more consistent though with like the logistical pieces that you have taken on. And then with me, I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. And it's like, we'll see. We'll see if I can actually do that. I'm too positive and optimistic about the amount of time I have sometimes. But so when I think about what you could do more of, better,
more of. It's what can I be doing more of? That's the whole question.
Ooh. Posting old wish you were here's.
Okay.
Even if it requires bothering me to send you pictures. I think there's one there.
Okay. Because I haven't done that. I don't think I've done that all of our second season. I don't think I've done it since the first season.
Or even current wish you were here's. Any wish you were here's. I think it'd be so fun to post more of them on our social media. Yep.
Okay.
Am I supposed to ask you that one now?
I mean, that's up to you. You don't have to.
Okay, Ryan, can I be doing more of?
Oh boy, I wasn't thinking about asking you that question.
Do you want me to keep in all your pauses? Is that what you like me to do? More?
Yes, please. Let's make it more accurate and let's bore everybody more. Yes, definitely. Y'all have no idea how much I pause and how much Cheryl actually takes out of our podcast because I'm thinking.
Well, it's so funny, Ryan, because you only hear the edited version. And so I'm like, Ryan probably thinks that this is how he talks.
No, I know better than that.
It's like in Singing in the Rain when that woman with the terrible voice didn't notice that they dubbed over her voice.
Yes.
I'm glad you're not that delusional. That's good.
What can you be doing more of? Well, the one thing that I was going to say you actually have been doing over these last couple of weeks when I've been ridiculously crazy in the middle of September with school, which is getting more guests. And you have been. Which is awesome.
Excited.
But that's great because that's the thing that I'm not good at doing, and I like shrink and shy away from is talking to strangers, or even if they're not strangers, but just contacting people. Like that is the thing that is more that I will avoid more than a lot of other things. The logistical things, like that's just on me. That's 100% on me. But if I'm coordinating with somebody else, that takes a lot more from me. And so if you can do more of what you're doing right now, that means I have to do less. And that is great for me.
You guys, I have 5 guests booked coming up, and I am very excited about all of them.
Yep.
One of them is a returner and 4 of them are new, and I'm so excited. It's
And
gonna be
I'm
cool.
so excited because we have guests, 5 of them already lined up, and I didn't have to do anything with it. So, okay, last anniversary question. Are you ready?
All right. Yep.
What can I be doing less of?
Pausing. No, because I know part of why you pause is so that you actually have a complete sentence or a complete thought, or you don't say as much. Because I could probably say a lot less of and like myself. So, what could you be doing less of? That I think that's my only one, and it's not even a big one. But I can't really think of anything else.
But that's okay because I
Yeah.
think that and even right now, I'm trying to like not pause in the middle of the sentence and it's not working. But I think it can be good for me to, because and again, apparently not. Apparently this is very hard for me. But as another thing to get better at, I think that's completely reasonable to pause less, or perhaps, and maybe this is not the case, but I think maybe to just pause at the very beginning instead of in the middle of a sentence.
Yeah. What can I be doing less of?
Oh, what can you be doing less of?
Spiking in my volume might be one of them, but that's what our editor thinks about it. So,
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, so here's one. You and I have talked about this before, and it's not a super big deal. And the thing that's crazy is you don't hear it, but you still pop in your mic every once in a while. And you keep saying you don't hear it when you listen to it. So I have no idea if I'm just extra sensitive to it or if maybe it's only in our call and it's not actually recording. But that would be the thing is, and you even did it tonight, even at the beginning. You haven't done it in a while, but at the beginning, there are times when you just, and it's not like it's not an intense pop, but it definitely
But there is a pop.
Maybe pop isn't the right word because it's low frequency.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a low frequency.
But do you hear it on the podcast when it comes out?
It's been a while since I listened to our podcast.
I mean, Ryan, you say you want more listeners. Do we need to have a talk about you as a listener?
I mean, I have heard our podcast because I'm here right now recording it. And here's the deal. It's kind of September where my life is ridiculously crazy, especially with remote teaching. So I've been not doing a lot of things right now. And I think the other piece is I would usually listen to our episodes as part of all the podcasts that I listen to. And I would primarily listen while commuting, which I'm not doing right now. So I'm behind on all of my podcast listening, not just our own.
Oh, man.
So sorry, but yeah.
Apparently, because of COVID, overall podcast listening is down other than children's podcasts are up.
Oh, that would make sense because I think a lot of people listen while they commute. So,
yeah. And if any of our listeners have children's podcasts to recommend that are bearable for adults, I would love to hear it. I have one here. This is just a side note for anyone around children. Listen to the Story of Pirates. You're welcome for that recommendation. It is so good. But I need other podcasts for kids. So
you just
let me know,
just
parents. There. Really?
Yep,
because I said podcasts with kids and parents.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, we'll see if that comes out or if I cut that part.
Oh, I see. That's why it doesn't show up, is because when you hear him, you just cut it out. All right. Those are our anniversary questions. We'll see where we're at a year from now when we do our 3rd year anniversary. Is that one cardboard or what is that one?
Well, I think that
canvas?
Paper.
Metal?
I think that paper is cardboard. So
Oh, okay.
But I want you to keep guessing because this is fun.
Foam. Is that our foam anniversary? Particle board. Our particle board anniversary because we're building IKEA furniture, right? I'm trying to think, like, you went from paper to cotton, but then eventually you get to like platinum and gold and silver. So like, what's in between that? I mean, I don't know.
Here you go.
Aluminum?
Are you ready? Leather.
Oh, okay. We're on to clothing. Okay.
Uh-huh. Although, according to the knot.com, the traditional 3-year anniversary gift is leather, which is symbolic of the marriage reaching a stage of flexible durability. But the modern 3rd anniversary gift is crystal or glass, which has a special beauty, yet is still fragile. Again, both significant representations of a maturing marriage.
Okay.
Are you ready to vomit?
A little bit. You said leather, and I was like, oh, that means we get to buy a couch. Then you said crystal, and I was like, I don't need any crystal. Although it did remind me of going to the Waterford Crystal Factory, which was pretty darn amazing. In
Cool.
Ireland.
Ooh, have you shared about that for a Wish You Were Here?
I thought I did. I must have. I don't know if it was a Wish You Were Here, but I definitely shared about it when we did our Ireland episode.
You did in episode 44.
Okay. I think that may be the end of our anniversary. I think we're done celebrating for now, Cheryl.
Anniversary over.
Well, I don't know about that, but I mean, sort of. Do we eat cake or something? What do we do for an anniversary?
Well,
As far
for
as
the
food.
first year, you're supposed to freeze the top of your cake and then
Right.
eat it a year later, and that sounds awful, and that's why most people don't do it anymore.
Because a year-old cake doesn't sound like a good idea.
Yeah, and also, like, who has that space in their freezer
I do.
for a year? Oh, I like Costco frozen items a little too much for that. I mean, I think we're supposed to, like, have a special something to commemorate it, but for us, I think a podcast episode is the perfect version of commemorating it. So
Okay.
we did it.
We did. I know this is off topic, but I think that it makes more sense to have anniversary food themes than it does anniversary textile themes.
Ooh.
You and Daryl should do that. You should just make your own.
Yeah.
Because you're not at 1 year yet, so you can you could do the whole thing.
Edible paper.
I mean, you could do
Come up with a
paper.
food version of each of those, or come up with a food that looks like.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Or just make it up completely whatever you
Yeah.
want.
Just say year one is sushi because we like sushi
Yeah.
right now.
Or you could do like you have odd years and he has even years to pick
Mhm.
what the anniversary food theme is.
Well, we did talk about doing that because we want to do some sort of a trip to celebrate our anniversary, even if it's like a little weekend something. And we talked about taking turns with who plans it every other year. But I think we're actually going to plan it together because we plan each other's birthday weekends and usually go away for those. And so we already kind of have a one thing a year where like for his birthday, he does not know what's happening. I make it happen and then flipped with my birthday. So I don't know. I think it'd be fun now thinking about it more. That we're like, maybe we should decide together. And like this year, we're like, low key, low key. So, but we want to do something, and we love going places, even if it's just like an hour away or something.
Yeah,
so,
perfect. I think that's all we got. So I would love it if our listeners were to follow us on social media. We are at TimWee Podcast. That's at TMWY for Take Me With You podcast. We are on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter.
And I would love it if our listeners emailed us at timweepodcast@gmail.com. And you can let us know if you want a guest on this podcast, or if you know someone who would be a good guest on this podcast, or if here's a big one. We would love it if someone would go through our 104 episodes so far and list every single country that this podcast has been to, /or find a website where we can create an account and have an ongoing map where we keep adding to the countries we've been to, and then we can have a visual world map of where this podcast has been. So if anyone's looking for a project, this is a very sincere ask. I'm not joking. We would really love help with this.
Yep.
Let us know.
Yep. I would also like for you to call us and leave us a voicemail at 406-763-8699, or if it's easier to remember, 406 Pod Timwe. We would also really love it if you would rate and review our podcast, share about it on social media, and subscribe, because that will help tell other people about it. So maybe we can introduce some more listeners.
Yes! And as always, thank you to Beth Reed Miller for the awesome artwork. You can check out more of Beth's artwork at Beth Is Something. And thank you to Erica Corbin for the use of her song Around the Globe. You can listen to Erica's music wherever music is sold or streamed. And I'm going to give you a little bonus plug with Erica.
Bonus?
Is Erica and her family sold their house. They have, I think, 5 kids. And bought an RV. And they are traveling around the country. And if you would like to follow her family on Instagram and their travels around the U.S. in their RV, you can follow at Corbin Fam. That's Corban Fam. And their photos are so fun. They are good photographers and videographers as well. So, and their kids are adorable, and it's just really fun to see what they're up to. Like, they were just at a big dinosaur slide somewhere, and I think they saw Mount Rushmore recently. Yeah, got some Mount Rushmore pics with a baby in front of it, so that was really cute too. So,
and then are we going to have them on our podcast?
I mean, we better.
Right? She's kind of on every episode.
I know. Actually, yeah, she's already on our podcast.
Well, thank you, everybody, for celebrating with us for our 2-year anniversary. We had a great time, and we're looking forward to the next year. So until next time, remember to take me with you.
Take me with you.
Can we get a sailboat chasing down the sunset as we float round and round the globe? Salty air and balmy nights, guided only by the lights above, and light little love. Oh, the world is out there waiting to explore, and all our troubles